From the moment Mrs. Brown's Boys burst onto screens, viewers fell in love with Agnes Brown's outrageous antics and the chaotic family gatherings that follow her everywhere. But over the years, a surprising number of actors have quietly walked away from the hit sitcom, leaving fans asking one burning question: why? Behind the trademark laughter and fourth wall, shattering gags lies a behind-the-scenes story of exhaustion, creative clashes, and personal priorities that ultimately drove several performers to pack up their scripts, and sometimes their wigs, forever. Let's start with one of the biggest exits: Rory Cowan, the original Rory Brown. For more than a decade, Cowan played Agnes's long-suffering nephew, honing a deadpan delivery that perfectly contrasted his aunt's bombastic style. Showrunners often praised his ability to keep a straight face while the set collapsed around him. But in 2017, Rory announced his sudden departure, citing fatigue and a desire to step off the merry-go-round. Cowan later revealed grueling touring schedules left him with barely a weekend at home. With the show staging live performances across the UK and Ireland, he spent hundreds of nights away from friends and family. The breakneck pace, combined with repeated cameo appearances in sketch after sketch, meant he felt more like a touring stand-in than a cherished regular. Behind closed doors, he confessed to producer Brendan O'Carroll that his heart simply wasn't in it anymore, and that play-acting Bassett Brownshell Manor's chaos had become a blur of costumes, hotel rooms, and early morning call times. Next up is Patrick Houlihan, who portrayed the hapless family friend Buster Brady. Houlihan joined the cast in Series 2 and quickly became known for his slow-burn exasperation at Agnes's shenanigans. Yet by 2020, he had quietly bowed out, a decision he later described in interviews as one of the hardest in my career. Houlihan had been juggling Mrs. Brown's Boys alongside a booming second career in radio hosting. When his morning show commitments collided with the sitcom's filming, the calendar conflicts stacked up. Producers repeatedly rearranged shooting schedules, but eventually, Houlihan reached a crossroads. Forced to choose between two families, his on-screen clan of oddballs and his real-life broadcast audience, he opted for stability behind the mic, where he could guarantee predictable hours and a home before bedtime. His exit left the writers scrambling to rework several scripts originally centered on Buster's misadventures, underscoring just how pivotal his presence had been. Then there's Jonathan Kouls, who portrayed Mark Brown in the show's earliest seasons. Mark was Agnes's straight-laced son, whose long-suffering devotion provided a perfect foil to his mother's chaos. Kouls appeared in 5 series before announcing his departure in 2015. Although his reason initially sounded like pursuing new acting challenges, insiders later revealed creative disagreements played a significant role. Kouls chafed under frequent rewrites that leaned into increasingly broad slapstick, believing the show's original mix of heartfelt family moments and gentle humor was slipping into caricature. In private meetings, he argued for deeper character arcs, suggesting Mark's struggles as a single dad deserved more screen time. When those pitches were repeatedly shot down in favor of one-liners and pratfalls, Kouls felt his role had become little more than a joke setup. Facing the prospect of another blocked creative impasse, he chose to leave and explore parts that offered more dramatic meat. His final episode, which saw Mark relocate to London for a new job, wrapped his storyline but also served as a cautionary tale about creative friction behind the laugh track. Not every departure was pre-announced. A number of recurring cast members simply vanished. The actor who briefly played Father Damien in a handful of Christmas specials was never invited back, reportedly due to scheduling conflicts with his stage career. Even some of the puppet voice artists opted out once their minor roles ballooned into demanding recording sessions. In each case, the show's relentless production pace and an almost obsessive drive to churn out specials for every holiday exacted its toll. Writers joked of a Mrs. Brown's allergy, in which cast members sneezed out of contracts just months before Christmas. Then there's the unique situation of the multi-generational family troupe itself. Brendan O'Carroll's own children played major roles on screen, which meant their schooling and adolescence had to be carefully woven around filming. As Agnes's daughter Kathy, Jennifer Gibney, O'Carroll's real-life wife, acknowledged that balancing family time with location shoots in Dublin became impossible once their teenagers hit exam season. She took a 1-year hiatus in 2016, during which Kathy's role was dramatically reduced. Although she ultimately returned, the experience underscored how real-world responsibilities can bump a beloved character to the cutting floor. What emerges from all these departures is a pattern. Mrs. Brown's Boys thrives on chaos. But behind the chaos, the cast craves balance, creative ownership, and time for life off camera. For many, the choice to leave wasn't about hating the show's outrageous hijinks. It was about preserving sanity, honoring personal priorities, and sometimes reclaiming their own artistic identities. In a world where comedy series can dominate an actor's life for years, the ability to walk away can be the ultimate punchline. Fiona O'Carroll had never planned to make a career out of donning Agnes's instantly recognizable wig, but when she signed on to play Maria Brown in 2011, it felt like joining family. Over 8 seasons, she mastered the comic timing of Agnes's ditzy daughter, flirting shamelessly with your man one moment, weeping over empty gravy boats the next. Yet in late 2019, Fiona suddenly stepped away for good. Publicly, she cited family commitments, hinting that life off camera had grown too compelling to ignore. Behind the scenes, sources reveal a more tangled picture, a breakdown of her real-life marriage, a custody battle that demanded her full attention, and a growing unease that the unrelenting schedule, filming at least 3 Christmas specials every winter, nonstop rehearsals for the touring shows, and the odd one-off charity gig, left her stranded between 2 worlds. In private, Fiona confessed to Brendan O'Carroll that playing Maria felt like Groundhog Day. Same house, same barrage of slapstick, same hotel corridors, month after month. When her young son began crying for a mummy home, she knew she had to choose between a hit sitcom and a fragile family life. Producers rewrote her exit script to send Maria off to Canada on a teaching fellowship, an abrupt farewell that left fans posting heartfelt "come back" messages on social media. But for Fiona, it wasn't goodbye to acting, just a reset. She soon relocated to Vancouver, auditioned for a voiceover role in an animated series, and pledged only to return to Ireland for Christmas, not to slay audiences, but to dine with her children. A similar tale unfolded with Sharon Brown, Agnes's teenage offspring who burst into view in Series 4 as the level-headed counterpoint to Maria's wild schemes. Played initially by Emily O'Reilly, Sharon's arc promised long-term development, a blossoming career, a secret fiancé, maybe even motherhood. But halfway through the 2017 Christmas special, Emily quietly announced she'd be relinquishing the role to focus on her A-levels and a scholarship opportunity at Trinity College. Unlike her adult co-stars, Emily couldn't juggle the production's famously erratic hours. Daytime shoots for school-age players clashed with late-night set calls. The show's writers scrambled to rewrite entire family scenes with Agnes's daughters, juggling 2 Sharon actresses for a year until the character quietly vanished, explained away as moving to Galway for university. Emily's departure underscored a recurring dilemma. When child actors age out or chase new dreams, the Brown clan must improvise without disrupting punchlines. Fans debated whether the recast Sharon's temper leaked into the comedy, but most agreed that school and college milestones eventually trumped sitcom cameos. Less publicized was the 2018 exit of the late-night touring company's beloved granddad figure, Freddie O'Hare, brilliantly portrayed by theater veteran Billy Murphy. Freddie was a late addition in 2015, sent by Agnes to mind the store whenever she embarked on new misadventures. On stage, Billy's aged physical comedy, hopping on one foot, clutching a false hip, collapsing into an ottoman, became a showstopper. Yet after 2 grueling European tours and 5 consecutive Christmas specials, Murphy encountered serious health concerns. A heart condition demanded immediate surgery, followed by months of convalescence. Though the production team offered to build extended breaks into his contract, Billy insisted on retiring the role rather than risk the rigors of tour life. Agnes's scriptwriters gave Freddie a proper send-off, an on-screen funeral episode that remains one of the show's rare, tear-jerking moments. Audience reaction was swift and emotional. Fans on Twitter commemorated Freddie as much as they did fictional relatives, proving that offbeat side characters could become family heirlooms. Meanwhile, the off-screen cast of puppet operators and voice artists quietly thinned out. Voiceover actress Sarah McDonough initially lent her piping tones to every animated toy in Agnes's basement, and puppeteer Callum Reed animated the Family Dog's cameo. But as the show intensified its production, up to 8 filmed episodes a year plus charity sketches, neither could sustain the level of demand. Contracts were renegotiated to include hefty overtime fees, but scheduling conflicts with other commitments. Sarah's burgeoning audiobook narration career, Callum's lead puppetry gigs in London theaters, proved insurmountable. Without formal farewell scenes, puppets tend to vanish without tribute. Fans only noticed their absence when beloved toy sequences vanished in later specials and online clips. Finally, there's Brendan O'Carroll himself, the creator who routinely filled gaps by playing incidental characters. In early 2021, he admitted he'd reluctantly curtailed his on-screen cameos beyond Agnes. No more Big Agnes cameos as distant cousin Big Betty. No more off-camera roles as the errant postman. After 2 decades of shouldering multiple parts, writer, director, producer, actor, his plate overflowed. Family obligations and new business ventures, including a children's book series, demanded he reassign secondary roles to up-and-coming cast members. Those uncredited cameos, once Easter eggs for fans, disappeared entirely, replaced by younger character arcs. His choice freed him to nurture the franchise's next generation, an admission that sometimes the loudest exit is a deliberate step back from your own creation. Each of these departures, from lead stars to touring veterans to the invisible workforce behind Agnes's animated chaos, reveals a common theme. Mrs. Brown's Boys thrives on the illusion of a perpetual, unchanging family reunion, yet the real-life cast must navigate growth, ambition, and the limits of personal bandwidth. Leaving the show became an act of self-preservation. For some, it meant protecting family bonds. For others, reclaiming creative integrity or safeguarding health. In every case, the laughter on screen masked a quieter struggle behind the scenes. The true reason these actors left Mrs. Brown's Boys, Mrs. Brown's Boys rolled into its 10th year of festive mayhem. The revolving door of supporting cast members accelerated, and not always by choice. Take Mary Agnes Flynn, who joined the show in Series 5 as the delightfully gauche cousin Florrie. Flynn's tenure lasted just 3 Christmas specials before she quietly declined to renew her contract. Publicly, she blamed scheduling conflicts, but insiders say the real issue was creative exhaustion. Year after year, Florrie's biggest punchline was tripping over a lampshade, and Flynn grew weary of delivering the same pratfall with fresh enthusiasm. When the production's union holidays clashed with her dream role in a West End musical, she made an early exit. Her final episode commemorated with a hastily written farewell scene that sent Florrie off to a drama workshop in Cork. Fans shelled out tear-smudged tweets over her departure, but Flynn lauded the change, swapping knockabout sitcom mayhem for something that challenged her core craft. Then there was Dominic Casey, who assumed the role of Julian O'Leary, Agnes's amiable yet dim-witted lodger, in Series 6. Casey's silky delivery of Julian's malapropisms, "I've got a plan so cunning you could brush your teeth with it," won him an enthusiastic fan following. Yet after 2 years, he felt boxed in by the character's limitations. "I wasn't an actor playing a role anymore," he admitted in a candid radio interview. "I was Julian." As much as he adored the Brown clan's backstage chaos, Casey longed to explore Shakespearean verse and dramatic monologues, an ambition irreconcilable with Agnes's demand for slapstick. He quietly walked away before the 2019 touring show reached Scotland, leaving Agnes to introduce a cousin's neighbor as a quick recast. Audiences tolerated the switch, but Casey returned to Cork's Abbey Theatre soon after, determined to prove his range extended far beyond the bowler hat and flowered skirt. A different story unfolded with Kevin Doran, the Dublin character actor who portrayed Dr. Walter Brown, the kindly local dentist who dispensed one-liners as easily as he did fillings. Doran endured grueling live tour dates in the spring of 2018, only to discover a chronic heart condition that worsened under the steam heat of theater dressing rooms and the adrenaline spike of sudden bad guy entrances. After he collapsed during a matinee blackout gag, the show's insurance balked at covering his return. Producers offered to alter his physical comedy, but Doran refused, insisting fans deserved the real Dr. Walter antics they'd come to love. His final bow in Belfast became a standing ovation for life-saving medical staff rather than comedic tumult. The episode that aired shortly afterward politely noted Dr. Brown's retirement for health reasons, a euphemism that left devoted viewers and Doran's colleagues deeply moved. Not every exit came from the on-camera cast. Voice actor Sarah O'Sullivan, who supplied every squeaky-voiced toy and mopey puppet in Agnes's chaotic basement, found herself in demand for an animated feature opposite a major Hollywood star. When scheduling clashes forced her to choose, she opted for the big-budget gig, an opportunity that tripled her voiceover rate and promised her name in the closing credits of a global franchise. O'Sullivan's final puppet patter aired as part of a March special, then was quietly phased out in later episodes. The puppets themselves lingered on set for months, their mouths silent in storage crates until new operators and actors breathed fresh life into previously voiced cutaways. Meanwhile, Dublin's local hire pool thinned out dramatically. Over the course of 3 years, dozens of extras who once populated Agnes's parish church scenes and shopping mall crowd shots vanished, citing the punishing pace of 12-hour shoot days capped with a 5 a.m. wrap. Between national television spots and the touring juggernaut that hit every major city, Mrs. Brown fatigue became industry lore. Veteran background actors likened the workload to being on a treadmill with no off switch. When several union grievances over overtime pay went unresolved, a wave of walkouts forced producers to contract lower-cost temp performers, leading to unexpected continuity hiccups in episodes filmed just weeks apart. Among the most poignant departures was that of Callum, the stuntman turned comedic foil behind many of Agnes's more daring pratfalls, like the broom mount chase through the hallway and the on-air pie smash fiasco. Reed performed with reckless abandon until a misjudged leap from a second-story landing landed him in a real hospital bed for 6 months. The show's safety protocols were quickly overhauled, but Reed chose to retire rather than risk lifelong injury. In his goodbye letter to O'Carroll, he wrote, "I loved every smash and crash, but my body can't keep score anymore." His empty stunt harness remains a silent reminder at the studio lot of the physical toll behind the guffaws. Finally, even the creator himself, Brendan O'Carroll, adjusted his own cameo routine. After embodying every tertiary character, from the nosy postman to the barfly bartender, he admitted in 2020 that playing everyone else was choking Agnes's creative space. He announced he would no longer fill 3 roles per episode, delegating incidental parts to up-and-coming comic actors. The result? Fresh faces popping up in quick gags, a handful of memorable new bits, and a rejuvenated sense of ensemble. Though fans missed spotting O'Carroll's off-camera red herrings, his choice preserved his energy for writing and directing, ensuring the show's core remained Agnes herself, not the chaos of one man's expanding wig collection. Brendan O'Carroll's decision to scale back his own multi-role came during a period when several other long-standing ensemble members likewise reevaluated their commitments. One notable example is Damian McKiernan, who portrayed Buster Brady's moody cousin Bono in a recurring arc from series 3 through 7. McKiernan relished the character's offbeat one-liners, but by 2018, he was balancing the job alongside an MFA program in dramatic writing at Trinity College Dublin. In candid letters to the producers, he expressed frustration that episodes featuring Bono were rarely given serious storylines. "I spent more time in makeup chairs than in scenes that mattered," he joked, but privately admitted that he needed to devote his energies to his thesis. His final appearance had Bono enrolling at university to escape the mangle of Mrs. Brown's straight-to-camera asides, a mirthful nod to McKiernan's own academic departure. Fans posted memes comparing the on-screen college tour with his real-life campus pursuits, and McKiernan went on to write several award-nominated short plays, proving that leaving the boys could open doors as much as closing them. Pauline McLaughlin, the actress who brought Rita to life as Agnes's long-suffering daughter-in-law, also stepped away in 2019 after 5 seasons. On stage, she balanced the sitcom with a successful regional theater career, earning praise for her dramatic turns in Chekhov and Ibsen. When rehearsals for a major Abbey Theatre production of The Cherry Orchard collided with the Christmas special's tight filming block, McLaughlin faced an impossible choice. Rather than juggle late-night shoots and matinee performances, she opted to honor her theater contract. Agnes's writers crafted a storyline in which Rita finally finds a pampering spa retreat, a deliberately tongue-in-cheek send-off that spoofed the actor's own five-star theatrical getaway. Though viewers missed her exasperated sighs around the dinner table, critics lauded McLaughlin's stage work, and she later credited Mrs. Brown's Boys for sharpening her comic timing in otherwise tragic roles. Outside the immediate Brown family, a spate of character exits came from the village cast, who filled out Agnes's world. Eilish Murphy portrayed Ms. Darcy, the no-nonsense parish secretary, from series 1 through 10. Murphy resigned in 2020, citing burnout from memorizing her rapid-fire lines, sometimes 120 words per minute, for multiple take-by-takes in freezing location shoots. In an interview for the Irish Actors Guild magazine, she lamented that, "I learned more about shivering in wool skirts than I ever cared to know." When she requested a shorter filming schedule, producers countered that the show's live pantomime tours depended on her availability. Ultimately, Murphy chose self-care over callbacks, and Ms. Darcy vanished from Agnes's parish newsletter subplot. A brief cameo in Maggie O'Carroll's spin-off Christmas special marked a fond farewell, but Murphy's decision underscored the physical and psychological demands placed on supporting players. The world of Mr. Brown's Boys also extended to a troupe of veteran stand-ins and stunt performers, each subject to their own pressures. Mark Donnelly, the face behind the irascible milkman Neil in early Series 2 and 3, walked off the bus tour midway through the European leg in 2017. Donnelly explained that the heavy prop milk churn he hauled each night aggravated a chronic back injury. The accident that finally forced his exit: he slipped on a wet stage ramp in Cologne, landed him in physiotherapy for 6 months. When he returned to Dublin, he discovered Neil had been recast, and he decided against re-enlisting for another season. His replacement maintained the same mugging shtick, but fans who caught Donnelly's farewell program on YouTube left messages of gratitude for his years of milk churn calamities. In 2021, writer-actor Trevor Fitzpatrick, responsible for cameo roles as various shopkeepers and uncles, opted to leave after creative disagreements. Fitzpatrick had pitched a serialized subplot involving Agnes's romance with a local widower, an arc he felt would deepen her character beyond slapstick. When those proposals were repeatedly shelved in favor of standalone sketches, he grew disenchanted. One heated writer's room exchange in early 2020, documented in a runaway WhatsApp group chat, saw Fitzpatrick call the show a laugh track at the expense of true character growth. After tensions mounted, he requested release from his contract and left to join a Belfast drama collective, where he now writes award-winning dramedies. His departure highlighted a tension between serial storytelling and the show's reliance on episodic jokes. Even family members occasionally found themselves at odds with the franchise's relentless pace. Brendan's nephew Shane O'Carroll, who made memorable appearances as Gino the hapless hairdresser, grappled with the show's touring demands in 2018. Having auditioned for roles in major UK soap operas, he saw his commitment to Mrs. Brown's Boys as limiting. With multiple callbacks for a role in The Crown, he faced the same dilemma that befell Rory Cowan: home time versus hero time. Shane ultimately left the show during the spring pantomime tour, returning soon after to London, where he landed a recurring part and earned his equity card. His on-screen exit, Gino, taking his blades to the Italian Riviera, was delivered with as much flourish as his comic haircuts, but his real-life move spoke to the sacrifices young actors make for career advancement. Finally, the show's behind-the-camera crew suffered attrition as well. Longtime director of photography Eamon Clark left in 2019, citing safety concerns over the fast turnarounds demanded by weekly specials. Clark had to relight the same old gaff on Dublin's north side for 4 separate Christmas productions in under 10 weeks, a logistical nightmare that eventually aggravated his migraine disorder. When he tendered his resignation, the production scrambled to train a successor mid-shoot. Though viewers never saw Clark's name front and center, his absence marked a subtle shift in the show's visual energy. Some episodes took on starker lighting and stiffer camera moves, a telltale sign that even off-screen experts reached their limit under Mrs. Brown's schedule. As we've seen, whether through personal crises, career pivots, creative disagreements, or health emergencies, the reasons actors and crew have left Mrs. Brown's Boys are as varied as Agnes's wardrobe changes. Behind each uproarious gag lies a real-world story of human priorities asserting themselves over sitcom immortality. And while fans may lament every farewell, those departures are reminders that laughter on screen depends on real people off it. People whose lives, ambitions, and well-being sometimes lead them beyond even the most beloved family. Just when fans thought the revolving door had finally slowed, a new wave of exits swept through Mrs. Brown's Boys in 2021 and 2022, this time driven by pandemic pressures, pay disputes, and shifting production models. One striking departure was that of Ken Byrne, who portrayed the hapless Detective Foley from Series 8 onward. Byrne's dry-witted Irish brogue and fail-proof fall routines made Foley an instant fan favorite. Yet when filming resumed under strict COVID protocols, he found the grueling health checks, mask mandates, and daily rapid tests too intrusive. In interviews, he admitted that the show's usual larks and laughs were overshadowed by anxiety over infection risks. Production offered to create a Foley bubble with dedicated testing staff, but Byrne felt emotional exhaustion outweighed any safety net. His last appearance, in a clever cold open where Foley is mistakenly locked inside his own patrol car, served as a bittersweet callback to his earliest burlesque entrances. Viewers applauded him on social media, many sharing relief that Byrne prioritized his well-being over a thankless safety role. At the same time, COVID lockdowns prompted conversations about equitable pay. Behind the scenes, unionized lighting and sound technicians voiced grievances that top-tier cast members earned salaries hundreds of times greater than those responsible for capturing every giggle on camera. While Brandon O'Carroll and lead actors negotiated generous protocols with the network, several key department heads found their overtime rates capped at standard industry minimums. Veteran key grip Donald McGrath left abruptly in mid-season to join a more lucrative commercial project in London. His resignation letter, later published in the Irish Film Crafts Journal, called for a fair share of the pie for those who worked the longest hours behind the lens. Though the production quickly rehired a replacement, insiders note a lingering morale divide among technical crews who felt undervalued. Another high-profile exit came from Rachel Connolly, the actress behind the flamboyant Sharon's friend Imelda in 2 Christmas specials. Connolly, a real-world social media influencer, initially joined to boost the show's online presence. She leveraged her 200,000 TikTok followers to promote each episode, only to clash with the writers when she sought a deeper, recurring part for Imelda, complete with her own gag reel segment. Creative disputes grew heated after Connolly insisted on script approval for her character's lines, arguing that her fan engagement hinged on authenticity. Producers, concerned about maintaining Agnes's comedic spotlight, responded by refusing to alter its tightly scripted formula. Connolly chose to exit, moving to a new Netflix reality series instead. Agnes's script edit to dispatch Imelda. She runs off to join a circus, was pinned overnight, and although the character's sudden carnival departure earned laughs, Connolly's departure highlighted tensions between on-screen reach and creative control. The touring company also lost several team members when the show tried to mount its first Australian leg in early 2022. Lead choreographer and occasional ensemble dancer Sierra Brennan joined the troupe after critical acclaim for her slapstick synchrony in Dublin. When she arrived in Sydney, however, she found the local health regulations mandated a 10-day quarantine at her own expense before rehearsal could begin. Brennan, forced to postpone her own theater commitments, balked at the financial burden and flew home at her own cost. The show's tour company scrambled to bring in a rapid replacement, but fans noticing a new face in the fake O'Leary cousin role murmured about Murphy's abrupt exit. Brennan later wrote a blog post decrying inadequate touring support and advocating for full quarantine stipends, a rallying cry for future productions to budget for travel contingencies. Meanwhile, Agnes's fictional brother Father Dick Byrne, played by an uncredited well-known soap actor, vanished after a single cameo. Urban legend suggested that a scheduling mix-up with EastEnders forced the actor to choose between serious dramatic roles and a one-off sitcom cameo. Words leaked that the soap's producers refused to allow any cross-network comedic contaminations, leading to Father Dick's audible absence despite on-screen references to his holiday. Though the character remained part of the extended Brown universe in scripts, fans never saw him. proving that network fences can yoke even temporary cameos. Financial disputes flared again when series producer Dermot O'Donnell discovered back-pocket excess fees being diverted to off-book marketing engagements. His protest, voiced in a rare on-camera blooper apologizing for loyalty deliveries, led to his swift demotion. O'Donnell left to launch his own boutique production company focused on microcomedies and ethical contract practices. His exit signaled that even high-ranking producers could find the show's ad hoc revenue streams too unruly for conscientious stewardship. The play's annals also record the curious case of Geraldine "Gertie" Nolan, the third actress to step into the role of Agnes's old-school neighbor Mrs. Desmond. Gertie clashed with her predecessor over costume continuity, refusing to wear a vintage hat she felt carried asbestos. When makeup calls refused to swap the 1980s prop for a modern replica, Nolan walked off set, vowing never to trust vintage wardrobe again. Audiences briefly saw the corner of her tweed coat recut into a silhouette before the role was quietly recast again. Though the incident was played for laughs, it underscored genuine safety concerns masked behind slapstick asides. As 2022 drew to a close, even some of the show's most stalwart fans found themselves vocally defending those who'd left. Online petitions sprang up to save Rory Cowan's Rory and bring back Dr. Walter, reflecting how personal bond between audience and actors sometimes outstripped the sitcom's manufactured family ties. Branded hashtags like #LetFoley began trending when Detector Foley's exit was blamed on shortchanged hazard pay. While not all campaigns succeeded, the movement itself demonstrated a new kind of fandom, one that saw cast welfare as inseparable from comedic output. By the time producers announced a pared-down reboot for 2023, slashing the live tour circuit, having the Christmas special count, and loosening dropout clauses, the show had absorbed an unprecedented 17 confirmed departures in 4 years. For many, the decision to leave Mrs. Brown's Boys wasn't a denunciation of its humor, but a statement of self-preservation in an industry that too often demands unyielding devotion. Behind Agnes's perpetual curtain calls lay real lives, real choices, and a cast that recognized the most courageous exit can sometimes be the one that leads you home. Mrs. Brown's Boys prepares to unveil its pared-down 2023 lineup. The legacy of these exits casts a long, and often bittersweet, shadow over Agnes's uproarious household. The family matriarch still breaks the fourth wall with impish winks, but behind each uproarious scene lies the memory of performers who once lent their talents to the Brown mayhem. As the studio rolls out a slick teaser for the next Christmas special, now confined to a single episode rather than a trilogy, viewers can't help but remember Rory Cowan's rueful eyebrow, Fiona O'Carroll's wistful smile, and Detective Foley's ear-splitting pratfalls. Rather than masking the turnover, producers have subtly woven the truth of these departures into the show's DNA. Agnes herself quips in the new trailer, "I'm missing so many faces, I'll have to marry the camera crew." A knowing nod to the real-world exodus. In a clever meta-twist, the script introduces phantom characters. Agnes receives postcards from Buster Brady passionately recounting his new radio mornings, and Father Damien's vintage cassock materializes in waiting rooms, but his face never does. Fans speculate whether these winks acknowledge the limits of sitcom immortality. No matter how timeless Agnes may seem, actors will grow, leave, and shape new chapters elsewhere. This new season also marks a gentler production pace. Rehearsals now cap out at 4 hours a day, with guaranteed weekends off between studio shoots and tours. The union-negotiated Brown Rider contract ensures that actors receive mental health stipends and a minimum of 2 consecutive nights at home for every on-location block. Early reports suggest morale has rebounded. On-set photos show cast members sharing group lunches rather than rushing to the next scene. Under Agnes's larger-than-life tutelage, the show is learning to cherish its real-world ensemble rather than burn through them in service of an all-consuming laugh track. For longtime viewers, this evolution feels like a return to the show's roots. The earliest specials, which saw original stalwarts like Rory, Buster, and Mark melting down under spotlight pressure, now stand as a cautionary tale. Comedy may thrive on chaos, but its creators and performers need order too. Agnes might declare that her family is unbreakable, but we've learned the true superglue lies in respecting each member's bandwidth, ambitions, and well-being. When cast members step away, whether for custody battles, stage opportunities, or health necessities, it isn't a betrayal of the Brown credo, but an affirmation of their own humanity. Critics have noted a surprising shift in humor style, too. While the old scripts leaned into extended pratfalls and knockabout sketches, the new episodes incorporate more heartfelt dialogue and truncated set pieces, presumably designed to preserve cast stamina. Instead of 3 gag-filled scenes per minute, audiences now savor reflective table talk moments. Agnes advising Kathy on work, life balance, Rory Brown's absence reference through Agnes's teary, "Are you sure you can't come home for Christmas?" line. These tweaks have drawn both applause and gentle protest. Some fans miss the old blitz of punchlines, while others welcome the more relatable pace. Title cards in the final season explicitly thank departed cast members by name, an unprecedented move in sitcom credits. For instance, the In Memory of Your Moods flashcard honors Billy Murphy's Freddie O'Hare, while with gratitude to list Fiona O'Carroll, Patrick Houlihan, and Sharon's original portrayer, Emily O'Reilly. These on-screen acknowledgments turn the credits into an inclusive celebration, reminding viewers that the show's success was built on decades of shared laughter, and that each exit deserves its own round of applause. Social media chatter has embraced this new transparency. Cast and crew live streams on YouTube and TikTok allow actors to explain their reasons for stepping away and to share behind-the-scenes memories. In one viral clip, Rory Cowan and Brendan O'Carroll replay a blooper reel, joking about their first live matinee mishaps. In another, Fiona O'Carroll invites fans to tour her Vancouver neighborhood, framing her departure as a joyful pivot rather than a sorrowful farewell. These candid glimpses transform departures from dramatic cliffhangers into natural life transitions, demystifying the notion of a show's perfect continuity. As the final studio laugh track fades, Mrs. Brown's Boys confronts an existential question. Can a sitcom survive the departures of so many beloved performers? Early indicators suggest it can, provided the producers continue to honor the real people behind Agnes's antics. New cast members receive thorough onboarding, creative input on their characters, and contractual assurances of break time and creative agency. In a clever bookend to the show's history, the revamped ensemble includes a mix of emerging Irish talents and returning guest stars who once left the series only to find their way back for special episodes. Ultimately, the story of these 6 sections, culminating in this final act, underscores a fundamental truth. The longevity of comedy depends not on stunt casting or ironic self-awareness, but on the well-being and agency of everyone who steps onto Agnes's set. When actors leave Mrs. Brown's Boys, they do so not because of a whim, but because they're navigating real lives, with careers, families, and health needs that no sitcom can indefinitely suspend. Recognizing their reasons, celebrating their contributions, and adapting the show to safeguard future departures isn't a sign of weakness. It's the mark of a franchise that truly understands the value of every performer in Agnes's riotous, unbreakable family.